the DBMM battle between the early German army and the Romans. I'm playing the early German and Sam is playing the Romans. So let me talk you through the German army. So the idea is to test a new model of the Roman army, which is the Marcomanni. They are a bit special because they have got some trained troops who have been trained a little bit like the Roman style. So what makes this army different? They have a regular CNC, and the other two subgenerals are irregular. So that means I can use the technique of switching the pips between the CNC and one of the other commanders. They've also got some trained troops in the Roman style, so regular blade I, 12 of them, and 4 regular Siloi S. So the theme of this army is to be more flexible than the average German army. That we're going to use we've got 2 strong cavalry wings with full commands of 12 cavalry. And then in the center, we're going to have the trained warriors, the regular blade I, and those are going to act as a sort of screen with the warband behind them, and therefore the warband will be able to maneuver to the place where they can be the most effective. Biggest problem facing the Romans is the Romans will dodge away from the warband and he won't be able to get a decent charge in. So the intention is that the cavalry and the blade I will screen the warband so that they can get in a decent charge on the Roman line. That is what we're trying to test with this list. So the Germans were defending and the Romans attacking, and this was the terrain. The Romans chose 2 woods, but they both fell on the Roman right, which is the German left-hand side as we look at this picture. The Germans have a compulsory wood, so that was included down the front. And then they picked 2 bare, gentle hills. They also picked a river, but that didn't get onto the board. The Germans wanted an open battlefield, so there was nowhere for the Romans to hide, and also because the Romans are able to outmaneuver the warband, and so they wanted the least obstacles for the warband to have to work around. So this is how the Germans set up first. On the right-hand side, they have their regular blade I command behind the hill. In the middle, they have the CV command with the warband in column. And on the left, they have the CV in line with the Siloi in front next to the wood. The idea was that the left-hand command could either go round the wood to the left or right, depending on where the Romans deployed. The blade I could hold successfully on the hill, even against the Roman full-fat blade O, and the cavalry in the middle will be able to screen the warband in order to be able to get them in. And here you can see the barbarian German cavalry. This is Coppleston miniatures. They are fantastic barbarian cavalry. And here on the hill you can see the detail of the German setup with the blade I in front. They are actually Old Glory Galatians, and then the warband waiting behind, also Old Glory. And here you can see the Roman setup. They have a cavalry wing on their left flank with light horse on the extreme, and then knight F and CVO in the middle. And the same command also has auxiliary and blade X over next to the legionaries. And this is the Roman right flank setup. One command is the Siloi and auxiliaries and the cavalry, mostly cavalry O behind them. Then in the middle, the CNC command, there is one artillery fast, there are some regular bow O, and then 8 legionaries with supporting Siloi behind them. So this is the overall picture. The German gets the first move, and it is up to you to pause the video and work out what your plan is going to be as the German. Okay, my thinking was that if I just go forwards, then my right-hand infantry command is going to be in trouble against the Roman mounted command because the light horse would get behind them, and there is not much that they can do about the knights either. And the warband really want to be targeted at the Roman heavy infantry rather than the mounted. On the left-hand side, the Roman cavalry looks weak relative to the German cavalry. So if we take the full force round the left-hand side of the wood, then the Romans will be forced to pull their legionary command across in order to defend that main uh, uh, that their camp against the German cavalry, and then that will create a big hole in the middle, which the warband and the blade are able to go through. So So the German left flank got decent pips, and in fact, the German left flank got decent pips throughout the entire game, very surprising, and so was able to move up until it got march blocked, move up the road until it got march blocked by the Siloi. On the other flank, the German cavalry marched out in order to confront the Roman mounted wing, and then the blade eye and the warband command angled across, pointed at the Roman blade. On the Roman left, the Roman cavalry advanced in order to march block the head of the German cavalry column, and their light horse started scooting out in order to create a flanking threat. On the Roman right, the infantry moved into the wood, where they will be safe from the German cavalry, but they're not in a position to support their own cavalry there. Their own cavalry turned in order to defend the gap between the wood and their camp. The CNC command got only one pip, and since it was the lowest pip command, and so was unable to move. In the German turn, their right-hand command, the cavalry advances. It doesn't want to go in against the Roman heavy cavalry with the light cavalry round their flank. So they've decided to advance and squash the light horse before they can cause too much trouble. But they have to expand in order to do that to make sure that the light horse can't hard flank them in their turn. The Blade Eye and Warband Command continue marching towards the Roman Blade, but it is a long way off. The German flanking cavalry get good pips and are able to deploy into a small line of battle and then try to bring their reserves up behind the line. On the Roman turn, the Roman cavalry deploys into line of battle in order to face the flanking German cavalry. On the other flank, the light horse turns to face the oncoming German cavalry in order to head them off, and the rest of the Roman cavalry advances, and they send their auxiliary over to try to support that mounted command. The CNC with the legionaries, because he has the lowest pip, is still unable to move far. By switching pips, the German right is able to get good pips, and it sends a line of cavalry in to threat zone the light horse while protecting their flank. The rest of the cavalry turns into line in order to face off the Roman mounted. At the same time, the blade eye also does a right turn from column into line and therefore has set up a wedge which looks quite scary if the Roman cavalry advanced. The warbands continue moving forwards with single pip moves. The cavalry commander starts to move away from the warband towards his cavalry so that he doesn't get out of command range, but he's staying within 400 paces of the CNC so they can carry on switching pips as needed. On the German left, Lawrence is not able to advance yet. He still needs to get his reserves into place, so he moves a column of cavalry behind his front line in order to reinforce it. The Roman mounted command has the highest pips, and therefore it is able to do individual element moves. Even though they were threat zoned, the light horse are able to back off using individual element moves and move back to the hill. The rest of the Roman line turns around and retreats. They didn't like the V shape and taking on the German cavalry on the hill. And they have left a couple of cavalry to march block the Germans. On the Roman right flank, they decide to take the dice in both hands and they charge in on the German line. Very Roman, very brave, but it is high risk since the Germans outnumber them at least 2-1 here. So we will see whether this works out. On their right, the German presses forwards. The cavalry do a full move forward, so they're now completely off the hill. And they have the support of the blade eye line, whose front rank moved forwards, while the rear rank moved off in order to confront the Roman auxiliary, who are also part of the cavalry command. The warband started to deploy, ready to go charge the Roman main battle line. The German cavalry pursued the light horse. They're unlikely to be able to run them down, but they want to make sure that they stay out of the fight. The Romans are holding their own on the right flank. However, the reinforcements are arriving for the Germans, and it is looking unlikely that they will be able to survive the coming storm. And then disaster for the Romans on the right flank. In their turn, they lose a cavalry who is double overlapped next to the general. Because they are fighting in only a single rank, that leaves the general vulnerable, and he gets hard flanked in his own turn. And the dice rolls are a 4-3, which means the general is dead. So now there is a big hole in the Roman line and not much to stop the German cavalry. So at this moment, the Germans have lost one of their cavalry on the left flank, and the Romans have lost two, but one of those is the general, which really cripples that command. On the Roman left flank, the CV line turns around and comes back so that it is close to the German line. The light horse, because they were not threat zoned, dodge around and take up a position on the flank of the Roman line. However, the Roman does look to bring his knights around to the other flank. That they are hoping that they can, the cavalry line will hold long enough for those knights to be able to reposition and start chewing up the German cavalry. The rest of the German infantry continues marching forwards. They will soon have to make the choice whether they want to enter artillery range or whether they want to hold back. I think they'll probably go in because they are a lot of them and the artillery will only pick off very slowly. The whole of the German cavalry line goes in on the Roman cavalry. They have overlaps on each side. The honours are fairly even. The Germans lose one cavalry in the middle, but the Romans lose one cavalry too. And the Germans have a few more reserves, whereas the Romans, the knights, are left a little bit stranded. The German outflanking cavalry continues a clinical cleanup, reforming their lines and killing one more light horse. Here you can see the German infantry getting close to getting to grips with the auxiliary infantry. They're now taking fire from the artillery. The Roman legionaries have finally started to respond and are moving up to support the auxiliary. The Roman cavalry concentrated on protecting flanks by pulling the light horse in, moving up the knights to get them engaged. They did lose one more CV who was double overlapped. The clinical cleanup continues on the other flank. The one more CV is killed, and that means that the Roman command is now disheartened. The troops that you see coming to help the command, the bow and the commander-in-chief from the Central Legionary Command, look like they are too little, too late, and now that find themselves exposed with a disintegrating command around them. The German cavalry continues to push on the right flank. They get into combat along the line and they use their blade in order to get in the face of the Roman knights, preventing them from charging the cavalry. On the right-hand side, you can see cavalry now lining up on the light horse. There are the Roman knights behind, so that could be unpleasant on the countercharge, but the Germans are looking to try to push this command to a breakpoint. The big German infantry unit has now gone in on the auxiliary, but they find it a little bit tough going. The auxiliary S are a tough opponent for the Blade Eye. On the Roman right, another CV gets hard flanked and goes down, and a CV manages to reach the Roman bow and kills them since they are only one rank deep, bringing the commander-in-chief into combat where they won't be able to give orders. On the German right, the Romans are paying the price for not having any reserves, and gaps are opening up in their cavalry line, which they are unable to fill. And with the loss of the CVI, the command of the Roman right wing is broken, and now the CNC is in combat as well, and the units around will be unable to provide flank support since they are broken. The Roman tries to close up his line desperately, but even with an overlap, his knights are still unable to kill the German cavalry. Uh, Notice the gap that is between the Roman general and the next CV in line. That will enable him to be hard flanked next turn. Lawrence delivers the clinical finish from the German left wing cavalry. They hard flank the CNC and then with a roll of 6 to 5, the CNC goes down, and that is the second Roman general to collapse. And on the other flank, the third and only remaining Roman general gets hard flanked as well and taken down by the German cavalry. And with that, the commands are tipped to being broken, and the whole Roman army collapses. So that is the end of the game. This is the casualty count. There is the broken right wing command on the far side, the uh, Roman mounted command that just lost its general in the center, and the near side is the Roman legionary command with the CNC dead. The Germans only suffered a couple of CV casualties and some warband as well. On the game debrief, we talked about some of the options the Romans would have. They do have a disadvantage in this matchup that the Germans do have good troops for taking on the Romans. And also with the terrain, when they had it open for so much and just one wood that the Romans could maneuver around. So taking 2 half FE woods would probably have been better for the Romans. In other angles, the Romans were fighting on a very broad front, and they didn't really have the troops for it. So if they had fought on only half the table, they would have been able to have the reserves to stop their commands collapsing the way they did. In addition, the right wing attack was very brave, in fact, maybe even foolhardy, going in against superior numbers without a reserve rank, with the general leading the charge, is very Roman, very brave, but pretty foolhardy. That it probably would have been better to keep the auxiliary out of the wood and to use them to bolster the defensive line, and maybe pull the left-wing cavalry back towards the legionaries to enable the legionaries to get in the fight, because the strongest Roman troops are the blade, and they did not fight at all in this battle. So many thanks to Sam and Lawrence for the game. That Sam was very unlucky in his dice rolling. He missed some critical pips at critical moments, and also his combat rolls weren't very good either. But it was a tough matchup, and what we will agreed to do was switch sides and replay so that Sam can get his revenge.